Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to Midnight Affairs Tales. We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know what part of the world you are watching from right now. Let us know in the comments now. Let's dive into today's story, Chapter 1. The first thing I saw was the frosting, smeared across the kitchen floor like a wound. Lily's birthday cake. Red velvet. Uneaten. Fork still on the table. But no Lily. Amanda. I barked as I dropped my keys. My boots thudded against the tiles. The house echoed with a silence that screamed. Amanda appeared in the hallway, drying her hands with a towel. Too calm. She probably ran off, she said with a shrug that stabbed through my gut. She's 10. She doesn't run off. I scanned the room. Her school bag was still here. Her shoes too. But the front door was unlocked. And something else, on the wall by the kitchen counter, a scratch, like someone had been dragged or fought back. I knew violence. I'd seen it in sandstorms and city alleys. This wasn't random. Where's her phone? I asked. Amanda didn't answer. Where's her F***king phone? Amanda? She must have left it. Wrong answer. Lily never left without it. That phone was her link to the world and to me. I turned, scanning the living room. Something buzzed faintly under the couch. I got on my knees and pulled it out, Lily's old burner phone. She used it for games. I unlocked it with the code she made me memorize, my birthday. One message stood alone, timestamped an hour ago. They said not to tell you. But I think they're lying. That's when I knew. Someone had taken my daughter. And someone in this house was covering it up. Amanda opened her mouth to speak again, but I was already gone, racing upstairs, heart thudding, mind calculating. My hand shook, not from fear, from the familiar feeling I hadn't touched in years. War. And it had just come home. Before we move ahead, I just want to say, your support truly means everything. We're building something special here, and our next big goal is reaching 10,000 incredible subscribers. If you're feeling the emotions in these stories, imagine what's still to come. Subscribe now, be part of this amazing journey, and let's keep growing together. Your one click can make a real difference. Let's continue the story. I stared at the scratch on the wall again. Jagged. Fresh. It was low kid height. There was a faint smear next to it. Blood? Maybe. I took out my knife and scraped a sample into a plastic bag. Old habits never die. I walked outside, noting the ground. Soft soil. 2 sets of footprints leading to the side gate. One adult-sized. One smaller. Lily's. The adult didn't wear boots. Flat soles. Civilian. Amanda, I said, turning slowly. Why's the gate open? She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, trying to hide that trembling lip. I told you. She went out. Probably to the park. No. I stepped closer. The park's behind the house. This path leads to the street. She shifted. Uncomfortable. Amanda had always been a terrible liar. Her mouth twitched right before she spoke. She was twitching now. You think I had something to do with this? She snapped. I don't think, I said, voice cold. I know. A pause. Then I turned and walked to the garage. My tactical bag was still where I left it, inside the locked trunk behind the shelving. Untouched. That's what made me sure. If this had been a robbery or abduction by force, they'd have taken everything valuable. But they didn't touch my gear. They knew what it was, and they knew not to touch it. I opened the bag, loaded my Glock, checked the tracker in Amanda's car. The last location? A service road off I-16, 20 minutes from here. She didn't follow me when I got in the car. I didn't expect her to, because Amanda wasn't just hiding something. She was in on it. And whoever took Lily didn't realize one thing. I wasn't just her father. I was trained for this. I parked 100 feet from the spot Amanda's GPS had last pinged. A dusty, half-abandoned service road. Old warehouses lined one side. The other? Pine trees and silence. But silence doesn't fool me. It has weight. It hums when something's off. I moved low, methodical. Scanned for cameras. Motion detectors. A single tire track curved off into the trees. Recent. Narrow. Like a van. That's when I heard it, faint, mechanical clicking. I followed it to a rusted-out storage unit, door slightly ajar. Inside, I found a laptop, humming, and on the screen, paused, a video of Lily, blindfolded, hands tied, sitting on a mattress, still breathing, alive. I swallowed the surge of rage that clawed at my throat. I clicked play. A deep voice, masked by a modulator. Mr. Callahan, we know what you are. We know what you did in Kandahar. If you speak, your daughter dies. Then a face. Not Lily's. Amanda's. In the corner of the screen, Amanda is pacing, watching, not crying, just watching. I hit pause. My jaw clenched. My mind snapped back to the text Lily sent. They said not to tell you. But I think they're lying. Lily knew. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the old military medallion I gave her when she was 5. It was a GPS keychain too, microchipped and encrypted. And I had the tracker. I tapped into the signal. A red blip appeared 74 miles west. Still moving. They were transporting her. I had 2 hours, maybe less. I closed the laptop, exhaled slow, and whispered the promise out loud. I'm coming, baby. And I'm bringing hell with me. I didn't go home. I drove to a bar off the highway where the cell signals are garbage and the bartender doesn't ask questions. I sat in the darkest corner, pulled out Amanda's old phone from my glove compartment, the one she thought I never found, and tapped into the spyware I'd installed 2 years ago. At the time, it was just routine security. I never expected to use it on her. But tonight, it was my lifeline. Her call history loaded. Last night, 2 calls to Ryan. Ryan Garrett, my business partner for 8 years. The man I trusted with my company. With my life. There were voicemails, too. I plugged in my earpiece and played them back. Jack can't know. He'll burn it all down if he finds out. Tell them I'm keeping him distracted. Just get the girl out. I sat there, heartbeat slow, breath steady. The kind of calm I only knew in combat, right before a kill shot. I didn't rage. Rage clouds judgment. I planned. I copied the data to a burner drive. Then I made 2 calls, one to an old contact in Cybercom, the other to Marty, a fixer from my Black Ops days. I gave them everything I had, Amanda's contacts, the van's last GPS hit, even the voice from the video. And then I texted Amanda. We need to talk. No cops. No lies. Just answers. Her reply came instantly. Jack, please don't do this. But she was too late. I knew what she'd done. I knew what she helped Ryan do. And now I needed to know why. Because betrayal like this doesn't just happen. It's built, layer by layer. And I was ready to tear every layer apart. Amanda agreed to meet at the marina. Neutral ground. Public, but quiet. She arrived in sunglasses and a hoodie, like that could hide the guilt dripping off her. Where is she? I asked, voice flat. Amanda didn't answer. Just sat on the bench beside me, hands trembling. She didn't cry. Not yet. You lied, I continued. You said she ran off. But you knew. You knew where she was the whole time. I didn't have a choice, she whispered. There's always a choice. She looked at me then, and for a second, I saw a flicker of the woman I married. Then it was gone. They came to Ryan first. He owed money. Gambling. Debt. I don't know. They threatened to kill him, and then they came to me. Said if we gave them access to your firm's security routes, they'd leave us alone. And Lily, she swallowed hard. They said they needed leverage. Said if we gave them Lily, you wouldn't go public. You'd stay quiet. My hands curled into fists. You handed our daughter over like she was a briefcase. No, she snapped. It was Ryan. He said it'd be for a few days. Just to scare you. Then they changed the plan. I leaned in, face inches from hers. What changed, Amanda? She looked away. You. You started digging. They knew you wouldn't stop. They were right. I stood, heart like stone. Amanda reached for my arm, voice breaking. Jack. I didn't mean for this. Save it. I cut her off. You meant enough of it. I turned away, pulled out my phone. The tracker Lily had on her medallion was moving again southbound, fast. Whatever plans they had, they were in motion. So was I. I found Ryan at the gym he used to brag about owning but never really worked out in. He was in the private training room, hitting a heavy bag with all the power of a spoiled banker. He didn't see me come in. He definitely didn't expect the Glock pressed to his spine. "Miss me?" I said. He froze, arms raised. "Jack." "Hey, listen," turn around slowly. He did. Face pale, sweat beading. The coward was finally unmasked. "Where is she?" "Jack." I didn't. I drove a fist into his gut. He hit the floor hard, gasping. "No lies, Ryan. I have Amanda's calls. The video. The wire transfers. That got his attention." "Okay," he wheezed. "Okay, look. They took her. The cartel. They wanted you out of the picture. They said you were poking too close to some deals." "What deals?" "Defense contracts. Overseas shelf fronts. You were asking too many questions. They thought you'd talk. And you just gave them my daughter?" "They said they wouldn't hurt her," he muttered. "They said it was leverage. You'd back off if they had her. They were wrong." Ryan sat up slowly. "You don't understand, man. These guys aren't street thugs. They're professionals. Ex-military. Black market buyers. They have real reach. So do I." I stepped closer, pressed the barrel to his kneecap. "Give me a name." He hesitated. Then, "Victor Morello. He runs operations out of Nuevo Laredo. Imports. Mercs. Ghost-level ops. That's all I needed." I left Ryan on the floor, bleeding and shaking. Because the hunt wasn't just about finding Lily now. It was about burning down every bastard who touched my family. And Morello? He just got moved to the top of the kill list. The sun was setting behind the Savannah skyline as I walked into the old shipping warehouse near the docks. Dust hung in the air like fog. The location came from Marty. One of his off-the-record sources flagged it as a cartel meeting spot. Quiet. Unmonitored. Ideal for rats like Ryan and his friends. I stayed in the shadows, stepping between rusted containers. My ears tuned into faint voices up ahead, Spanish, quick, clipped. I moved closer, slow and deliberate. "SISE Muave, lo matamos. If he moves, we kill him." I peered through a gap in the steel wall. 3 men. One with a pistol on his hip. Another with a laptop open on crates. On the screen, I saw something that made my blood run cold. My company's logo. The bastards were inside my systems. Amanda hadn't just handed over a few passwords. She gave them full access. Security patrol routes. High-profile client data. Department of Defense backdoor codes. This wasn't just about silencing me. This was espionage. I raised my phone, snapped 3 photos, then backed out quietly. But a crack of rusted metal under my boot gave me away. "Quien anda ahi," one of them shouted. Footsteps rushed. I ran toward the back exit, silent and fast. 1 breath. 1 beat. I turned the corner and slammed straight into a 4th man. He swung a baton. I ducked, grabbed his wrist, twisted till it popped. He screamed. I clapped a hand over his mouth and dragged him into the dark. "You scream again," I whispered, "and I start breaking real bones." His breath shook. "Where's the girl?" He spat blood. "Gone. Nuevo Laredo. They're moving her again tomorrow." "Where exactly?" He shook his head. "I don't know. I swear." I knocked him out cold and took his phone. GPS on. Contacts stored. Idiot. I left the warehouse behind, heart pounding. This wasn't just revenge now. It was war. And these men had no idea who they dragged into the ring. Back in my car, I plugged the burner into the laptop I'd stashed under the seat. I kept the engine off, kept the lights dim, let the street lamp outside flicker and hum above me while the files opened. The phone was loaded with audio recordings, orders, payment logs, and one chilling voice memo. "Target Callahan knows too much. Use the girl. If he doesn't shut up, we shut her down." My jaw clenched. The file was timestamped 2 days ago. That wasn't pressure. That was a kill order. I forwarded it to Marty and my contact at Cybercom, labeled it Level Red, Confirmed Threat. Then I sat there for a moment, listening to the soft ticking of the hazard light. 1 click at a time, my pulse syncing with it. Then another notification popped up. Unknown caller. Blocked ID. I answered, slow and silent. A voice buzzed through, distorted. "You're smart. Jack. But you're not invincible. My breath stilled. You're trying to play soldier again, the voice said, but this is different. This is global. And you're alone. I didn't speak. Let them talk. Back off. Take the L. Bury the grief. Or we'll send you what's left of your daughter in a shoebox. I ended the call without a word. I didn't need to respond. They'd hear my answer soon enough. I glanced at the photo Lily drew that I kept taped to the dashboard. Stick figures, labeled in crayon. Me. Daddy. Mom. Our house. Her smile was crooked, scribbled too hard. It always made me laugh. Now it made my chest ache. They thought I'd fold. Disappear. Mourn. They didn't realize I wasn't a civilian. I wasn't built for surrender. They'd taken my child to force silence. Instead, they gave me purpose. By morning, I had a plan. The man whose phone I stole, his name was Ronaldo Diaz, mid-tier operator in Morello's smuggling pipeline. His messages confirmed the next route. Lily was being moved through a fake customs convoy, southbound toward a ranch outside Nuevo Laredo. 3 vehicles. 2 armed. 1 unmarked van carrying the cargo. Lily was the cargo. I hit up Marty again. Told him to get me names, routes, driver aliases, everything. You going alone? He asked. Wouldn't trust anyone else, I replied. You're crossing into cartel land with 1 Glock and a grudge? I didn't laugh. I've crossed worse borders with less. Before I left, I stopped at my storage locker. Opened a case I hadn't touched in 6 years. Inside was everything I'd sworn I'd never use again. My old vest. Knives. Military-grade smoke canisters. A suppressed M4 I'd buried under layers of disuse. And a photo of my unit, ghosts now. I nodded at them like they were watching. This one's personal, boys. I drove southwest through the night. No music. No distractions. Just the hum of the wheels and my mind sharpening like a blade. By dawn, I reached the edge of cartel territory. The ranch lay ahead, behind a chain of low hills and fences with motion sensors. But that was fine, because I wasn't going through the front. I parked 3 miles out. Hiked the ridge. Watched through my scope. There she was. Lily. In the back of a van. Pale. Scared. But alive. I adjusted the safety on my rifle. Took a breath. And whispered the words no enemy ever wants to hear. Daddy's coming. The air smelled like gasoline and sweat. I lay prone on the ridge, 800 yards from the ranch, watching the convoy prepare to move. A white van sat in the middle. Unmarked. Covered in dust. 1 driver, 1 passenger, both armed. A cartel SUV in front. Pickup with mounted surveillance gear in the rear. Flanking. Tight formation. Military-level discipline. Amateurs wouldn't run security like this. But I wasn't targeting amateurs. I was targeting ghosts, same as I used to be. I marked wind direction. Calculated timing. Visuals were tight, but the back of the van had one weakness. A half-second delay between the driver's door closing and the locks auto-engaging on the cargo section. That's all I needed. I loaded smoke. Slid 2 flashbangs into a thigh holster. I wouldn't go in loud. Not yet. I had to pull her out clean. Marty's intel showed a maintenance path through a gully behind the ranch. Unwatched. Old fence broken. I took it. I moved like water, low, invisible. Bypassed a motion sensor using a scrap of mirror and a handful of dirt. Slipped through the wire without a sound. I waited behind an irrigation tank until the vehicles rolled out. 10 seconds. 20. Then I moved. As the van hit the curve past the back gate, I deployed a homemade tire ripper, flattened the rear driver's side. Screech. Skid. Panic. 2 guards jumped out. Before the second man could raise his radio, I was on him, arm wrapped, knee to the spine, knife at the throat. He dropped cold. The first guard turned too late. I shot him through the leg. Not to kill. Just to end it fast. Then I ran to the van. Lily. I shouted. A muffled scream. I yanked the rear doors open. There she was, duct-taped, eyes wide, heart pounding. Her tiny wrist bruised. Daddy? She whimpered. I've got you, I said, voice trembling. You're safe now. I'm here. But I wasn't. Not yet. Because a drone overhead buzzed to life, and a red dot blinked on my chest. We dropped behind the van as the laser tracked me. I pulled Lily close, shielding her with my body. Then I heard it clicking. Not a rifle. A drone signal, someone watching. Live. I scanned the trees. Caught a shimmer, barely visible, where light refracted off something metal in the branches. A high-tech surveillance drone. That wasn't cartel tech. That was government grade. And they'd been watching us since I hit the ridge. Lily, I whispered, I need you to do something. She nodded. Brave. Just like her mother used to be before the lies. Remember that painting you made for me? The one with the cabin and the blue roof. She blinked. You mean the one where the sun had sunglasses? I smiled, just for a second. Yeah, you said it was our safe house. 'Cause you said that was where the bad guys couldn't go. Exactly. It wasn't just a painting. It was code. We'd practiced this. Ever since she was old enough to know what I did. I made our emergency drills into bedtime games. She memorized landmarks like other kids memorize TikToks. The blue-roofed cabin was real. In North Carolina. Mine. Off-grid. And she remembered. I fired one blind shot into the drone's direction. Enough to startle, not destroy. Bought us a 2-second window. I grabbed Lily, bolted for the brush, vanished into the trees. No gunfire followed. Strange. We didn't stop moving for 20 minutes. When we reached the parked ATV I'd buried under brush the night before, Lily finally spoke. Are they going to keep chasing us? Yes. Are you going to stop them? I met her eyes, green, like mine. I'm not just going to stop them, baby. I'm going to bury them. We reached a gas station on the outskirts of town by nightfall. I wrapped Lily in a hoodie and dark cap, gave her protein bars and a juice box. She didn't speak much. Trauma does that. I kept an eye on the door while I used the burner phone to dial Amanda. She picked up after 2 rings. Jack. Her voice cracked. I got her. Oh, thank God. Don't you dare pretend to pray. Silence. She's bruised, Amanda. They tied her up like cargo. I didn't know, she said, voice breaking. They said, Ryan said, it was just for leverage. Ryan's a roach. And you? You stood there and let them drag her into hell. I wanted to stop it. I tried bullshit. I snapped. I saw the video. You watched them prep the handoff. You watched. I could hear her crying. But I felt nothing. Just cold resolve. What do you want from me, Jack? She whispered. Names. Routes. Codes. I want everything Ryan gave them. And I want it now. You don't understand. I'm dead if I talk. We both are. I leaned against the wall, eyes on Lily as she quietly peeled the wrapper off a candy bar. No, I said. You're already dead. The only question left is whether you go down alone. Amanda breathed heavy, shaky. Then quietly she said, there's a server. At Ryan's condo. Hidden under the wine cellar. He kept backups. Contacts. Payments. Plans. You just bought yourself 5 minutes of mercy, I muttered. Use them wisely. She whispered something I almost missed. What? I didn't mean for this to happen. I hung up. Meaning doesn't matter when your child's been hunted. All that matters now? Justice. And I'm just getting started. Ryan's condo was luxury wrapped in glass, a high-rise fortress overlooking the city skyline. Gated access. Retinal scanner. 24-hour concierge. Didn't matter. I wasn't going through the front door. I built this man's security system myself. From a service tunnel 2 blocks away, I accessed an underground junction box and killed his fiber-optic cameras with a looped feed. The guards would see 10 minutes of a hallway stuck in time. That's all I needed. I scaled the south wall using climbing hooks, slipped into the rooftop HVAC. It was surgical, quiet, controlled. Inside, the condo reeked of betrayal, cologne, cigars, imported leather. Walls lined with art he didn't understand and books he never read. But I wasn't here for his lifestyle. I was here for the truth. Under the wine cellar was a concealed steel hatch. Fingerprint locked. I pried open the wood panels and used a digital bypass tool, military-grade tech I swore I'd never use again. But promises mean nothing when your daughter's been bound and trafficked like cargo. The hatch is open. Inside, a panic room. And a server. It glowed with humming lights. active, alive. I started downloading everything: client lists, payment trails, cartel links, arms deals, files named in code, but I recognized one phrase: Project Silence. I opened it. There it was, a full timeline of my movements. Surveillance logs. Satellite photos of Lily's school. They tracked us for months. This wasn't impulsive. It was orchestrated. And at the bottom, Amanda's name. She hadn't just cooperated. She'd volunteered. The sickest part? There was a note. If leverage fails, eliminate Jack Callahan. Stage accident. I stared at that line for a long time. Then I copied every file, wiped the drives, and left behind a flash drive with one line of text on it. Tick-tock. The cabin in North Carolina was nestled between two ridgelines, surrounded by forest, unreachable by road without knowing the path. It had no address, no Wi-Fi, and no neighbors. Only one person besides me had ever been there. Lily. I carried her inside, wrapped in a warm blanket, and set her on the couch. Her hands trembled. Her eyes stayed locked on the window even when I told her we were safe. I made tea, sat across from her. You remember this place? I asked softly. She nodded. The fireflies, we saw them here once. You were 6. You caught one in a jar and named it Dave. She almost smiled. Almost. But the smile fell away. They said you wouldn't come, she whispered. Who said that? The man in the van. He said you'd forget me. I clenched my jaw. He lied. I know. Then she reached into the pocket of her hoodie and pulled something out. A silver button. I took it from the guy who locked the van. He said his name was Lucien. He had a scar. Like, here. She touched the side of her neck. I leaned in. Lucien. She nodded. He had a snake tattoo on his hand. He dropped the button from his coat. I thought, maybe it would help. It wasn't just a button. It was a uniform tag. And I recognized the insignia: French Foreign Legion, ex-Special Forces. Lucien wasn't cartel. He was black market muscle. Mercenary. Which meant we weren't just fighting drug runners anymore. We were up against professionals. But she gave me what I needed: a name. A face. A trail. I pulled her into my arms, kissed the top of her head, and whispered, You did good, baby. You did better than good. Because her whisper just gave me the edge I needed. Now I wasn't just hunting. I was hunting Lucien. Dawn hit like a war drum. I left Lily with Marty's cousin, ex-Marine, off-grid specialist. The only man I'd trust to guard what mattered most. Then I hit the road, geared up in tactical black. Every weapon loaded, every step precise. Lucien was spotted 2 hours from the border, heading toward a safe house near Eagle Pass, Texas. Untraceable vehicle, no plates. My cybercom contact pulled satellite heat maps. He wasn't alone. I drove hard and fast, no music, just the hum of wheels and a loaded plan forming in my head. By midday, I reached a desolate gas station 5 miles from the safe house. Refueled. Waited. Then I saw it. A black SUV. Windows tinted. Moving like a ghost. It pulled in. One man stepped out. Lucien. He moved like a soldier, confident, silent, precise. Scar on the neck. Snake tattoo. He entered the station store while the driver fueled up. I followed. Inside, I grabbed a bottle of water and walked up beside him at the counter. Long drive? I asked. He glanced at me. No recognition. Hot day, he replied. I met his eyes. You remember Lily Callahan? He froze. Everything slowed. He reached, but I moved faster. My elbow slammed his jaw. His hand hit the shelf. I spun him, pinned him against the drink's cooler, and whispered in his ear. You picked the wrong child. He growled. You're dead, Callahan. They already marked you. They should have used stronger ink. I dragged him into the bathroom and zip-tied him to a pipe. Shut the door. Locked it. Then I leaned close. You're going to tell me where Morello is, or I'll make what happened in Kandahar look like a honeymoon. His lip curled. You won't break me. I smiled. Lucien, I'm not here to break you. I'm here to erase you. Lucien broke after 6 hours. It wasn't the pain. I knew how to apply pressure without breaking flesh. It was the silence. The way I stood over him, calm, surgical, unmoved. That's what cracks men like him. Not rage. Stillness. He gave me an address in Matamoros, Mexico, a factory turned safe house. He said it was one of Morello's ghost sites, the kind no government official dared poke. That's where they took the high-value leverage. That's where Morello was. I gagged Lucien and left him zip-tied to a bench in a roadside sheriff station lobby. Anonymous tip already sent with GPS coordinates and a recording of his confession. The man would rot in a concrete hole by sundown. Then I went to work. Before I crossed the border, I spent a day preparing. Back in Houston, I hit an old favor, Santos. Ex-Delta, now running a tactical gear rental front for private contractors. He owed me from Mosul. When I told him what happened, he didn't blink. You want entry gear or burn gear? He asked. Both, I said. And I need it clean. No cereals. No heat. 2 hours later, I had everything. Breaching charges, flashbangs, silent comms, facial disguise kit, encrypted drone, and a sidearm I hadn't held in over a decade, a .45 caliber 1911 with my initials still scratched under the grip. That night, I didn't sleep. I trained. Burpees. Load drills. Low-light nav tunnel breathing. I tuned my body back to war. Not just to kill, but to control. Control the room. Control the target. Control the outcome. Because the next step wasn't rage. It was precision. And when I crossed that border, I wouldn't be Jack Callahan the father. I'd be Jack Callahan, the nightmare they paid to forget. I was halfway to the border when the message came in. Encrypted. From Marty. You need to see this. Attached was a video. Timestamped. Dated 3 weeks before Lily's kidnapping. I pulled off the road, opened my laptop in the back seat, and hit play. Amanda. Sitting in a dimly lit hotel room. Talking to someone just off-screen. He won't stay quiet, she said. He's asking questions again. Pulling old files. Ryan's voice answered. Then we make him quiet. Amanda looked down. Twisted her wedding ring. If he finds out about Istanbul, he'll never forgive me. Ryan laughed. We're already past forgiveness. I paused the video. Istanbul? I rewound. Played it again. Slower. If he finds out about Istanbul. I hadn't thought about Istanbul in years. A mission gone sideways. A diplomat's death. But it was buried. Classified. No one knew except the team, and Amanda had sworn she never read those files. But she had. And someone else had, too. I dug deeper into the files from Ryan's server. Scanned through backups Amanda thought were deleted. There it was, a string of files flagged Istanbul_cover 2. She'd leaked mission files. Covert logs. Locations of CIA assets. I dropped my head into my hands. Amanda wasn't just helping Ryan launder cartel money. She was a traitor. And Lily? She wasn't just collateral damage. She was insurance. If I ever blew the whistle, they'd use her. The daughter of a patriot to discredit the patriot himself. I breathed slowly. The line between justice and revenge blurred a little more. But I didn't care anymore. The gloves were off. Amanda had chosen her side. Now I would choose mine, with fire. Matamoros wasn't a city, it was a war map drawn in dust and blood. Smugglers ruled half the streets. The other half belonged to men like Morello, shadows who knew how to vanish before the heat arrived. I crossed the Rio Grande by nightfall, hidden beneath a tarp in the bed of a freight truck that owed me a favor. Once across, I swapped to an unmarked pickup stashed in a mechanic's yard. Then I waited. The factory was just as Lucien described. Cinder block walls. Blacked-out windows. A single access road. 3 sentries, 2 on the ground, 1 on the roof. I flew a silent drone overhead, custom-rigged with infrared and low-frequency tap. It picked up a dozen heat signatures. One of them matched Lily's size. 2nd floor. Far corner room. Surrounded. The assault couldn't be messy. It had to be surgical. I parked 2 blocks away. Went in on foot, gear wrapped tight, vest snug, heartbeat steady. I climbed the rear drainage pipe, slid onto the 2nd-story catwalk, crept along the metal beams until I was above the sleeping guards. Flashbang. Drop. Suppress. 3 down in 5 seconds. I swept into the hallway, rifle up, cleared corners with no hesitation. The screams started too late. I reached the door, kicked it open. Lily wasn't there. It was a decoy room, a doll under a blanket, warmed by a space heater to mimic her body temp. Trapped. Too late. I heard the hiss of gas. Then the door slammed behind me, and everything went black. The gas hit my lungs like a freight train. Not tear gas. Too clean. This was sedative. Military grade. Slow the brain, then the body. Knock out the fight before it starts. But I trained for this. I dropped to the ground instantly, breath held, pressing my wrist to my mouth. Bit into the pill sewn into the band, activated charcoal and atropine mix. Old field trick. Give me 90 seconds of motor control. Enough to stay upright. Maybe. The door burst open. Boots thundered in. 2 men. Unmasked. I lunged. Swept the first one's leg. Drove my knee into his throat. He gurgled. The other swung a baton. It clipped my shoulder. Pain flared. I used it. Grabbed his wrist. Elbowed his jaw. He staggered. I slammed him into the wall. But my legs gave way. Vision blurred. Air thinned. Then, black. When I woke, I was in a metal chair, hands bound. Mouth dry. Blood on my lip. Lights above, too bright. A warehouse. Cold concrete beneath my boots. Across from me stood a man in a tailored coat. Salt and pepper hair. Calm eyes. The kind that had seen too much and cared too little. Morello. I expected more from a legend, he said, pouring himself whiskey. Jack Callahan. Ghost of Kandahar. Patriot. Father. Fool. I didn't respond. You know, he continued, swirling the glass, Amanda thought you'd never make it this far. But I told her he's stubborn. At that name, my fists twitched against the zip ties. Oh yes, he smirked. She was the first to flip. Istanbul was her price. We didn't even have to threaten her daughter. She offered the leak before we asked. You're lying, I croaked. No, he said, sipping. You just underestimated who she became. Then he pulled out a phone. Pressed play. Amanda's voice. He's a threat. If it comes to it, eliminate him. And just like that, something inside me broke. Not grief. Not pain. But permission. To end this, completely. The moment Morello left the room, I dislocated my thumb. Pain ripped up my arm. White hot. But the zip tie snapped. 30 seconds later, I had the chair leg free and the bindings around my ankles loose. I scanned the room. One exit. Security cam in the corner. No weapons in sight. Just steel shelves, storage crates, and a toolbox. I went quiet. Patient. 2 guards rotated every 15 minutes. When the next one stepped inside, I was ready. I launched forward, chair leg raised, and cracked it across his face. He dropped. I caught his pistol before it hit the ground. The other shouted too late. 2 rounds. One to the knee, one to the chest. Non-lethal. Fast and brutal. I took his radio. Package stable. Room secure, I growled, mimicking his voice. Then I moved. Room by room, floor by floor, clearing, sweeping, reclaiming control. Until I found the room marked with a red X. I opened it slow. And there she was. Lily. Tied to a chair, gagged, but awake. Alert. Our eyes locked. And for the first time in days, hers lit up. Daddy, she whispered, once I cut the gag. I pulled her into my arms. She trembled, but not from fear. From fire. I wasn't scared, she said into my shoulder. I know, baby. I remembered what you taught me. How to count the steps. How to listen for routines. I kept track. There's a guard every 15 minutes. 2 shifts. 6 men. I pulled back. Stared at her. You did good. She nodded, teeth gritted. Let's burn them. And just like that, I realized something. They didn't just underestimate me. They underestimated her. We didn't run. We hunted. With Lily close, I swept through the corridors, collecting weapons, grenades, maps. Every piece of intel I could grab. I gave her a knife, light, and radio. She followed every move like we'd rehearsed it. This wasn't panic. This was war. I rigged explosives on structural beams. Timed fuses. Just like old times. Stay behind me, I told her. If anyone gets near you, you do what I taught you. She nodded, eyes fierce. As we neared the exit, gunfire cracked through the hall. They'd found the bodies. Time was up. I kicked open a side door. Smoke bomb out. Vision gone. I dragged Lily low fast. Bullets sprayed overhead. One clipped the wall inches from her. We dove through the service hallway. Emergency lights flickering red. Sirens now screaming. My charges had been spotted. I hit the detonator. Boom. The building shook. Screams tore through the concrete. We sprinted out the back as the west wing collapsed. I shoved Lily into the pickup, jumped in, slammed the gear stick, and tore through the gate just as the second blast hit. Behind us, the warehouse erupted into fire. Is he dead? Lily asked. Not yet, I said, jaw tight. But he'll wish he was. We crossed the border at dawn. Through a smuggler's tunnel I paid dearly to use. When we emerged into daylight, I looked over at Lily, covered in ash, silent, holding my hand. She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. She looked forward, and so did I, because I wasn't done yet. Amanda was still out there, and now I had unfinished business. With my wife. 2 days after the explosion in Matamoros, Amanda appeared on the evening news. I watched from a motel in El Paso, sitting beside Lily, both of us still recovering from smoke and adrenaline. The TV flickered with her face, hairstyled, fake tears on command, speaking into a podium at a federal press conference. I'm just thankful our daughter was rescued, she said, voice trembling. This has been the hardest time of my life. Hardest time of her life? I turned off the TV before I punched it. Lily didn't say anything. She just sipped her juice and watched me. Amanda hadn't just avoided accountability, she was playing hero. Turns out she'd turned herself into a whistleblower after the Morello fire. Claimed she'd been under deep cover to help the FBI infiltrate the cartel. They bought it because she handed over Ryan. He was arrested in his downtown loft 2 nights ago. Unarmed. Crying. Amanda had sold him out. Saved herself. And now she was being rewarded. Deputy Chief of Cyber Intelligence. A government job. A clean slate. I stared at the headline. Wife of ex-Marine turned informant, a mother's courage. Lies. Lies wrapped in propaganda and washed in fake tears. But it didn't matter what the world saw, because Amanda knew the truth. And now, she knew I was still alive. I left her a message. Burn phone. No ID. Just a photo. Her and Lily on the front porch from 3 years ago. On the back, we're not finished. Ryan's face was pale in the courtroom photo. Lips pressed tight. Eyes darting. He wore a cheap suit, no tie, no pride. It was the look of a man who knew he was about to be erased. He was testifying before a closed federal panel in exchange for leniency. What they didn't know, he was lying to them too. Through Marty's federal source, I got access to the testimony logs. Ryan had given up cartel ledgers, yes, but he omitted one key detail. Amanda was the original leak. He painted her as a manipulated pawn, unaware of the full scope, protecting her, even after she sold him out. Loyalty, even in betrayal. Pathetic, but interesting. It meant he still loved her. That gave me an opening. I called him. Not directly, of course. I had my contact reroute the call through a secure line. Ryan picked up in a holding cell. Thought it was his lawyer. It's me, I said. Say nothing. Just listen. Silence. She sold you to buy herself a podium. More silence. Then, breathing. I have recordings. Files. Confessions. The ones you erased. You're not getting out of this. But you can choose how it ends. His voice finally cracked through. What do you want? Testify. Publicly. Tell them everything. Or I drop what I have. They'll kill me. They already planned to. I paused. She let them take Lily. Ryan. Do you understand that? Nothing for a moment. Then, where do I send the statement? He sounded broken. Good. Because the truth was the only weapon I had left. And I was about to aim it at the center of Amanda's perfect little empire. Amanda's power didn't come from bullets or muscle. It came from data. Control the servers, the stories, the narrative. You control the battlefield without ever pulling a trigger. So I went after her where it hurt most. Her new federal server. Encrypted. Heavily firewalled. State-grade protocols. Didn't matter. I'd written the architecture 10 years ago under a government subcontract. They changed the passwords. They never changed the framework. I slipped through the back door during a fake update push. And there it was, her command center. Messages. Hidden folders. Dossiers on whistleblowers. Embedded code in federal case files meant to vanish anyone who got close to her truth. I copied everything. Twice. Then I found something else. A subfolder named Project Spectre. Inside, active blackmail. Government names. Overseas kill contracts. Evidence Amanda wasn't just laundering money. She was laundering entire identities. She wasn't just cleaning house. She was building an empire. I recorded a video message. My face in shadow. Voice modulated. Background. Flashing screenshots of files, contracts, kill orders. The truth. Then I attached the clip to every major media outlet. I scheduled the leak to drop in 72 hours. That was her window. Her last chance. One message to her inbox. Come alone. No guards. No lies. Just truth. You owe her that. Attached, a location. The cabin. Our cabin. Where it all started. Where she swore she'd never lie to me again. And where I planned to end this. One way or another. The cabin looked the same. Pine needles scattered across the porch. The wind whistled through the trees. Morning fog crawled across the clearing like a ghost that never left. I was inside at dawn, pacing. Lily was safe, 2 counties over with Marty's team. Guarded. Shielded. She didn't know what was coming today, just that I had to settle something. Amanda arrived at exactly 10 a.m. alone. Hair down. No makeup. Gray coat over black jeans. She looked smaller than I remembered. But it wasn't the years or the stress. It was the weight of truth catching up. She stepped inside without knocking. Closed the door behind her. You called, she said quietly. I gestured to the table. Sat opposite her. Between us, the old chessboard Lily used to play with. You lied about everything, I said. Amanda didn't argue. You sold me out. Sold Lily out. You let Ryan plan her abduction while you posed for cameras. Her voice cracked. You think I don't live with that every second? No, Amanda. I don't think you live with anything. I think you escape it. With just enough truth to keep the mask on. She looked down at her hands. I didn't know they'd take her like that, she whispered. They promised. They're criminals. And you believe their promises? Silence. Heavy. I lost you, she finally said. I lost you years ago. And I wanted something back. Anything. So you took our daughter. Tears slid down her cheeks, silent. You think this meeting's about forgiveness? I asked. Amanda looked up. No, she said. It's about the end. And she was right. Because outside, 3 federal SUVs had just pulled into the woods. She brought company. I stood slowly. Calm. Controlled. You had one last choice, I said. I made it, she replied. Me too. I pressed the switch in my pocket. And every file I'd gathered went live. News broke before noon. The video flooded every platform. Dark screen, voice distorted, files pouring across the screen in real time. Government secrets. Dossiers. Amanda's voice on loop. If it comes to it, eliminate him. And then, chaos. Amanda's security detail pulled her out mid-meeting. But it was too late. Her name was trending nationwide. Not as a hero, as a fraud. From mother to mastermind, Amanda Callahan exposed. The footage of Lily's captivity, the ledger from Ryan's database, the intercepted voice recordings, it all unspooled like a slow-motion execution. Amanda tried to spin it. Press conferences. Lawyers. Denials. But you can't argue with your own voice ordering a hit on your husband. Ryan's written testimony hit the wires the same day. His signature. His account. Her betrayal. The FBI launched a full inquiry into Amanda's division. Half her team resigned. One was arrested. And the public? They devoured it. Talk shows. Podcasts. Headlines. America's model wife was a ghost architect of federal corruption. She vanished from public view. No one knew where she was. Rumors said she went underground. But I knew the truth. She was hiding. Not from the government. From me. A week passed. I didn't chase her. Didn't need to. Justice had already caught up. But something inside me stayed unsettled. Not because she was gone, but because it wasn't finished. Closure doesn't come through headlines. It comes face to face. So I waited. And one night, she came to me. At the cemetery, where our son was buried, the baby we lost before Lily. The only place I knew she still visited. She stepped out of the shadows like a ghost. No makeup. No press coat. Just Amanda. She stood across the grave from me. I came to say goodbye, she said. No, I said, voice low. You came because Gilda's teeth. She closed her eyes. I'm not asking you to forgive me. Good, I snapped. Because you don't deserve it. We stood in silence, wind biting around us. I loved you once, she said. You loved yourself, I replied. And you used Lily as a pawn. Amanda looked up. You were never just a soldier, Jack. You were a force. And I didn't know how to keep up. I stepped forward. You didn't have to keep up, I said. You just had to stand beside me. But you ran. She nodded. And now I'll run for the rest of my life. She turned to walk away. Don't come near her again, I said. Not ever. Amanda paused, then nodded once, and walked into the dark. I looked down at the headstone, ran my fingers over our son's name, and whispered, it's done. But I wasn't a soldier anymore. I was something else. A father. And finally, after all the blood and fire, a free man. By the second week, the empire Amanda helped build was collapsing. Ryan's plea deal was revoked when they discovered he'd hidden offshore accounts. The FBI froze everything: personal assets, shell corporations, crypto vaults. Every contractor they'd paid for silence was now being hunted. I sat in front of a monitor, watching it unfold like a slow-motion implosion. News anchors called it the most comprehensive internal corruption takedown in modern U.S. intelligence history. But that wasn't the part that mattered to me. What mattered was the quiet knock on my cabin door that morning. It was Santos, my Delta buddy, the one who gave me the gear. He had a file in hand and a face like stone. You asked me to track down the remaining names in Amanda's dossier, he said. There's one left. Slippery bastard. Financial ghost. Cartel handler. Cleaned her money and Ryan's. Name. Marco Ibarra. Goes by the broker. He's the one who brought Amanda into the cartel circle. Made her valuable. Lives like a ghost in Colombia now. I stared at the file. A new name. A new face. But the same sickness. You want me to flag him? Santos asked. No, I said, jaw tight. I want to finish what I started. Santos just nodded. You sure? He asked. I wasn't sure about a lot of things. But I'm damn sure about this. I didn't need courtrooms. I didn't need the media. Some debts aren't paid in court. They're paid in blood. Cartagena, Colombia. Hot, dense, pulsing with noise and shadows. The city was beautiful on the surface, neon lights reflected in puddles, tourists crowding markets, music echoing from open bars. But below the surface, it bled secrets. I tracked Ibarra through offshore account logs. One of Amanda's old ledger entries listed payouts to a shell company traced to a penthouse registered under Victor Martin. That name didn't exist in any Colombian registry. But Santos's contact in the black finance world confirmed it. The broker lived here. I spent 2 days observing from a building across the street. Guards rotated every 4 hours. Cameras swept in overlapping arcs. A rooftop helipad, always clear. No digital footprint. No chatter. Classic cartel paranoia. On the third night, I made my move. I dressed local, vendor gear. Walked right into the service elevator during a linen delivery, face half covered, posture non-threatening. By the time I reached the 18th floor, I had the route mapped in my head. I moved like smoke. Down the hall. Past 2 guards, both disabled quietly. Into the penthouse. The broker was in his office, back turned, classical music playing. I was wondering when you'd come, he said, without looking. So he knew. Or guessed. Either way, he didn't move. You brought this on yourself, I said. He sipped his drink. No. Your wife did. I just gave her the door. He turned. Old. Trim. Calm. A man who never lifted a weapon but had buried hundreds with his hands clean. "What do you want, Mr. Callahan?" "Finality." "I don't fear death," he said. "Good," I replied. I pulled the trigger. Twice. No speeches. No debate. Just justice. Because sometimes, karma needs a bullet. 3 weeks later, the courtroom was silent. Amanda stood at the defense table, hands cuffed, face pale. Her lawyer's voice droned on, something about mental pressure, manipulation, trauma. The usual. But everyone in that room had already seen the evidence. The videos. The recordings. The bank transfers. And the silence. Amanda had never once asked about Lily during the hearings. That sealed it. The judge didn't waste time. "This court finds you guilty on all charges: conspiracy to commit treason, obstruction of federal investigations, and endangering a minor." Amanda closed her eyes. "You were sentenced to 15 years. No parole. Federal custody." No gasp. No outburst. Just a quiet thud as the gavel fell. I sat in the back row. Lily wasn't there. I wouldn't let her see her mother like this. Amanda was escorted out, shackled, head down. But just before she disappeared through the door, she turned. Eyes met mine. I didn't blink. She mouthed one word: "Sorry." I nodded once. Not as forgiveness, but acknowledgement. Because she didn't deserve forgiveness. But she deserved to carry the weight. The media storm exploded after the verdict. Documentaries. Podcasts. The Amanda Callahan case. Everyone wanted a piece. I ignored them all. I went home. Lily was on the porch, sketching. "Hey," I said. She looked up. "Is it over?" I sat beside her, wrapped an arm around her. "It's getting there." She leaned against me, and for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, she smiled without faking it. Not because the war was over, but because the truth had finally won. Peace doesn't arrive with a sunrise. It comes quietly, slowly, like an old friend too ashamed to knock at the door. Weeks passed. The media noise died down. The investigations shifted to other corrupt players Amanda had exposed. Her final, unintended service to justice. I let it all fade behind me. Lily and I moved back into the cabin. The same one where Amanda had sat across from me, lying with practiced ease. I gutted it. Ripped up every piece of furniture that held a memory I couldn't trust. Repainted the walls. Sanded the floors. Turned a battleground into something warm again. Every morning, Lily helped me. She painted the walls with blues and greens. Said it reminded her of water, of movement, of starting over. One night, as we sat on the porch watching fireflies blink through the trees, she asked, "Do you miss her?" I didn't answer at first. Then, "I miss who I thought she was." Lily nodded like she understood more than any 10-year-old should. "She didn't deserve you," she said, resting her head on my arm. "But I do." That hit deeper than any bullet ever could. And in that moment, I stopped being a soldier. I became a father again. For real this time. Cleaning out the storage room one afternoon, I found a sealed envelope with my name on it. Handwritten. Amanda's script. Faint and uneven, like she was trying to get it right one last time. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. "Jack, if you're reading this, I've already lost everything. And you were right. I became someone I never thought I could be. I let fear guide me. Let ego build the house, and let guilt pretend to fix it. I won't ask you to forgive me. I just hope Lily never forgets that she was always the only good thing I ever helped create." Hey, I read it twice. There was no apology for the betrayal, just a quiet admittance of loss. Lily found me sitting with it later that night. "What's that?" she asked. "A ghost," I said, and tucked it back into the envelope. "Should we burn it?" she asked. I smiled at her. "No, we don't need fire to forget. We just need to keep walking forward." She nodded, took my hand, and we sat together under the stars. That night, I didn't dream of war. I dreamed of watercolors. By spring, the cabin didn't just look different, it felt different. We'd installed new windows, rebuilt the porch. Lily hung wind chimes from the rafters, and every morning the breeze carried soft music through the rooms. But the biggest change wasn't the house. It was her. She laughed now. Real laughter. The kind that came from her belly, not her throat. She painted more. Big canvases. Landscapes. Memoryscapes. One was a picture of her, me, and a mountain with no path, just the two of us holding hands, walking straight up it anyway. You're not going to put that in a museum? I teased. No, she smirked. It's staying right here. We hung it above the fireplace. Every evening, she'd read aloud from the books I used to love but never had time to finish. Steinbeck, Bradbury, old soldier novels, hope wrapped in grit. One night, she paused mid-page and asked, "Do you think people like us ever get to just be happy?" I looked at her freckles, bruises long gone. I still older than her age. We don't wait for happiness, I said. We build it. She nodded and turned the page. It was a Tuesday when the knock came. Not loud, not aggressive. Just 3 short taps, like someone unsure of being welcome. I opened the door to see a man I hadn't seen in 8 years. Clay Mercer. Last man standing from my Kandahar unit. Left the team after his son died in a school shooting. We'd exchanged 1 letter since then. No calls. He stood there in a brown jacket, hands in his pockets, eyes guarded. "Jack," he said. "Clay, you got time?" I stepped aside. Inside, we sat in silence for a minute. "I saw the hearings," he finally said. "Saw what you did." I waited. "I'm building something," he continued. "A private op rescue missions. Children like Lily. Trafficked. Forgotten. No politics. Just purpose." I looked at him. Saw the weight he carried. Same as mine. "You want me in?" "I want the man who burned a cartel empire down for his daughter." "Yeah, I want you in." Lily walked into the room then. Hair tied up, barefoot, holding a brush. She looked at Clay, then at me. "Friend of yours?" "Brother," I said. She nodded, smiled slightly, and disappeared back down the hall. I turned back to Clay. "I'm listening." Because the war wasn't over. It had just changed direction. The night after Clay's visit, I couldn't sleep. I stood on the porch, looking at the stars, listening to the soft rustle of trees and the chime Lily had hung just outside the window. For the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about enemies or revenge. I was thinking about what came after. Clay's offer sat in my chest like a loaded rifle full of purpose, but heavy with responsibility. Inside, Lily stirred. She padded out in her socks, her blanket wrapped around her shoulders. "You're thinking loud again," she said, eyes half closed. I smiled. "I am." She sat beside me, pulling her knees to her chest. "You're going with him, aren't you?" I hesitated. "I don't have to." She looked up at me. "You do." I swallowed. "I spent so long trying to protect you from that world, Lily." "And you did." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "But maybe now you help protect kids who don't have someone like you." The wind blew softly. The trees swayed. For a moment, everything was still. She was right. This wasn't about chasing ghosts anymore. It was about building a world where fewer ghosts are born. I kissed her forehead. "I won't be gone long," I said. "You always come back," she replied. And that promise, that truth, felt more powerful than any weapon I'd ever held. Clay and I launched our first mission 2 months later. Guatemala. 2 kids. Brothers. Taken from a refugee camp and sold to a transport ring. We tracked the buyer to a private estate posing as an orphanage. High security. Armed guards. No government oversight. It was everything I used to face overseas. Only now it was happening in our hemisphere to children. Innocents. Forgotten by paperwork and red tape. We went in at dawn. Flash entry. No fatalities. Swift, clean, no errors. The kids were in a locked storage room. Dazed. Starving. One of them clung to Clay's arm. The other? He stared at me with hollow eyes until I showed him a photo of Lily, smiling. Safe. "You'll be okay," I told him. "I promise." Back at the airstrip, Clay sat beside me on the tarmac. "Never thought I'd be doing this again," he said. I handed him a cigar. "Feels different, doesn't it?" "Feels right," he nodded. We watched the sun rise behind the cargo plane that carried those boys back to safety. No medals. No parades. Just peace. And for the first time, I felt what I never thought I'd earn. Not redemption. Honor. Because survival isn't the end of a story. It's the responsibility to help someone else begin theirs. When I got back to the cabin, a letter was waiting. No return address. Postmarked from a federal correctional facility. Amanda. I stared at the envelope for an hour before opening it. Jack, I heard what you're doing. What you've done. Saving children. Doing what the rest of us never had the spine to do. I'm not writing for forgiveness. I'm writing because I finally understand what it means to lose everything and still stand up again. I'm proud of you. Tell Lily I think of her every day. I hope she grows stronger than both of us. Hey, it didn't make me feel better. But it didn't make me angry, either. It was just a line in the sand. A ripple on water already disturbed. I read it once more, then folded it away into the same box where I kept Lily's early drawings and one picture of Amanda before the lies. Lily found me later that night. I didn't hide it. She read it. Quietly. Then she said something I didn't expect. I hope she finds peace. Even if she never gets to see us again. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because she meant it. And for that moment, I knew we had broken the cycle. It was her idea. Lily wanted to speak at her school's end-of-year event. A public forum on courage and justice. She stood in front of a packed auditorium, wearing her favorite denim jacket, a microphone in hand, a fire in her chest that only survivors carry. My name is Lily Callahan, she began, steady. When I was 10 years old, I was taken. My father found me. Gasps murmured through the room. He didn't just save me. He made me feel safe again. And now, he saves other kids who don't have a dad like him. But this story isn't just about him. It's about what happens after the fear. After the fire. She paused. Looked right at me in the front row. We don't let pain define us. We build with it. And we protect the people who can't protect themselves. Tears welled in my eyes, but I held steady. Because she wasn't just my daughter. She was my legacy. She was the proof that we didn't just survive. We evolved. The hill overlooked a quiet valley in South Dakota, a private memorial site for Black Ops veterans never officially acknowledged. I stood there with clay, a folded flag in my hands, reading names etched into cold stone. Names of ghosts we once bled beside. Names the world never knew, but I'd never forgotten. We came to bury one more. Javier 6 Morales. My comms guy from the Kandahar unit. Gone in silence. No ceremony. No one to call him home but the two of us. The 3-round salute was quiet, ceremonial, just us, our hands over our hearts, our eyes closed. I laid the flag on the stone, whispered a few words I'd never say again. You were always the soul of our fire team, brother. We made it out, but we never really made it home. Clay nodded beside me, blinking back whatever men like us can't say aloud. You know, he said, we're the last ones left. I looked across the grave. Then we make sure we're the ones that matter. We left the site in silence. Not because there was nothing to say. Because we'd already said it all, years ago, between bullets and blood. 2 months later, Ryan was found in his prison cell. Stabbed with a toothbrush shiv. Multiple wounds. No suspect named. No camera footage. Just blood, silence, and one folded piece of paper found in his pocket. She used us both. That was it. No name. No final prayer. Just a man who finally saw the truth and had nowhere left to run. I stared at the article for 10 minutes before tearing it in half. I didn't feel relief. Or vengeance. Just finality. The last chapter of the betrayal that started this all had been closed not with bullets, but with karma. Lily asked me if I was sad. No, I said. He made his choices. And in the end, he paid for them. She nodded. Not out of cruelty, but out of understanding. She'd grown up faster than she ever should have. But now, she carried wisdom, not wounds. That mattered more than justice. That meant healing had won. The cabin was alive now. It didn't creak in pain anymore. It didn't feel like a bunker or a fortress. It breathed. Lily filled it with music, an old record player Clay gifted her. She played Springsteen, Stevie Nicks, even some of my old Johnny Cash vinyls I thought were long gone. The walls had color now. Her paintings lined the hallway. Dreams in acrylic. Memories turned into mountains, lakes, skies with no ceiling. We hosted 2 of the rescued boys from Clay's operation last Christmas. I built bunk beds. Lily taught them how to roast marshmallows and paint galaxies on wood panels. One night, as the boys slept, Lily whispered, "This feels like a real family." I turned away before she saw my eyes blur. She wasn't wrong. We weren't just surviving anymore. We were growing, living. And for the first time since this war began, I let myself believe that maybe I didn't just win justice. Maybe I won peace. 1 year to the day since I pulled Lily from that van in Matamoros, I stood at the edge of the woods behind our property, holding the dog tag I never thought I'd wear again. I pressed it into the soil, covered it, not as a grave, as a seed. Behind me, Lily called out, "Dad, come see this." I walked back up the trail. She stood next to a carved wooden sign she'd been working on for a week. Callahan Safe House, EST 2025. Below it, her smaller handwriting read, "You made war. We made peace." I stared at it for a long time, then hugged her, tight, because the war they started with me wasn't just over. It was documented, recorded in ashes, rebuilt in trust. They took my daughter to silence me, but I didn't just survive. I made them listen. And now, we were the ones writing the ending. The envelope was thick, unmarked. Clay handed it to me while we stood outside the airstrip hangar, the sun bleeding into the horizon behind us. "New intel," he said. "Girl, 13, taken in Arizona. Border town snatchan van. We tracked her across to a private transport cell north of Tijuana." He didn't say more. He didn't have to. I opened the folder, saw her face. Young, bright, the kind of face the world forgets once it's stolen. "She got a family?" I asked. "Mom. No dad. Local police think she ran off. They gave up on day 3. And this is day 15. I closed the folder. 15 days meant the window was closing. Clay put a hand on my shoulder. "You don't have to say yes." I didn't answer him directly. I just walked toward the gear room, pulled my old vest off the hook, ran my fingers over the stitching. The initials LC sewn in by Lily when she was younger. She'd said it stood for Legendary Callahan. But now, it meant legacy continues. Before I left for Mexico, I sat with Lily under the tree we planted last spring, the one we named Hope. "You'll be gone long?" she asked, not scared, just curious. "Maybe a week. Could be less." She handed me a small silver pin, shaped like a compass. "I made it in art class," she said. "So you always find your way back." I tucked it into my chest pocket. "You're the reason I always do." She looked up at me. "Promise me one thing. Anything. When you find that girl, bring her home like you did with me." I leaned in. "I promise you, Lily, no matter what, she gets home." She hugged me hard. No tears, just strength. That's when I realized. Lily didn't just survive trauma. She'd grown into someone who understood the weight of saving others and the grace of letting someone go when they had to fight for someone else. She was braver than I'd ever been. The rescue wasn't clean. 2 men dead, 1 injured. The girl safe. Her name was Alondra. She barely spoke for the first 12 hours. She sat beside me on the extraction truck, knees pulled to her chest, eyes hollow. But when I handed her the photo Lily drew, the one with our house, the fireflies, and the blue cabin roof, she finally looked up. "She drew this?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "She used to be where you are. Scared. Alone. Is she okay now?" "She's more than okay." Alondra stared out the window. "I want that." "You'll get there," I promised. "And until you do, we'll walk with you." She nodded once. A tiny flicker of light behind tired eyes. It was enough. Not victory, but proof that war could be rewritten, one child, one life at a time. We got home just before dusk. Lily was waiting on the porch, hair tied back, sketch pad in hand. When she saw Alondra step out of the truck, she didn't wait. She ran to her and hugged her like she was family, because she was. That night, the 3 of us sat on the back porch, watching the first fireflies of the season dance through the grass. Alondra whispered something I almost didn't catch. "They're real." "What is?" Lily asked. "The fireflies from her drawing. I didn't think they were real." Lily smiled. "They only come when you're safe." I leaned back, arms around them both. And for once, I didn't think about missions or vengeance or ghosts. I just breathed. Because in the end, they didn't silence me. They gave me a reason to speak louder, through action, through fire, through love. And now? We were the ones lighting up the dark. I didn't watch the interview live. I only heard about it 2 days later, when Marty forwarded me a link with a simple caption. She finally said it. I waited until the house was quiet. Lily was asleep. Alondra, too, curled up in the guest room, holding one of Lily's plush animals like it was armor. I sat in the kitchen, poured a glass of whiskey, and hit play. The screen lit up with Amanda. Hair tied back. Orange prison uniform. No makeup. No lighting tricks. Just the raw truth on her face. Hollow eyes, thin frame, voice worn down by consequence. The journalist sat across from her, stiff and rehearsed. Amanda, do you have anything to say to your daughter? And to Jack? Amanda didn't blink. There's nothing I can say that fixes what I did. She paused, swallowed hard. But I will say this, they survived me. And I hope that survival turns into something bigger than I ever was. The interviewer leaned in. Do you regret choosing the cartel? Amanda shook her head slowly. No, I regret not choosing them. My family. I stared at the screen. No tears. No rage. Just silence. And maybe that's what healing really is, not forgetting what someone did, but choosing to no longer carry it like a knife. I closed the laptop. Went outside. The wind had picked up. The chimes swayed softly. In the dark, I whispered toward the stars. She said it, Lily. You won. We won. And I meant it. The funeral was unmarked. No family. No service. No flowers. Just a cold, gray plot in a forgotten federal cemetery reserved for inmates without claims. I hadn't planned to go, but part of me needed to see it through. I arrived just as the groundskeeper was lowering the coffin. No nameplate, just numbers. I stood at a distance. Didn't move. Didn't speak. A gentle breeze passed, rustling the nearby branches. Even nature seemed unsure of whether to grieve or forget. You know, a voice said behind me. I turned. Clay, dressed in black. Quiet, steady. I figured you'd come. He made choices, I said. Yeah, Clay nodded. And he died still running from them. We stood there, two men shaped by war and betrayal, watching a ghost vanish into the dirt. No one else is coming, Clay said. They never do for men like him. We walked back toward the truck. Halfway down the gravel path, I stopped. Dropped a single item into the grass near the grave. Ryan's old challenge coin. One he gave me after our first contract together, back when I still believed in him. Clay saw it and asked nothing, because it didn't need explanation. Ryan died with nothing. No family. No redemption. But he died with his truth finally known. And that mattered. Not for him. For me. The air was heavy with rain, though not a single drop had fallen yet. I sat in the truck, parked outside Lily's school, watching the kids run across the grass, backpack swinging, laughter echoing. I wasn't protecting her anymore. I was just being her father. A presence. A peace. When she spotted me, she waved. Not shy, not ashamed. Proud. This was her life now. No security details, no hidden weapons, no coded messages tucked under pillows. Just routine. Stability. Something I used to believe I'd never get back. At home that evening, we made dinner together. Alondra helped. She chopped vegetables with a confidence that hadn't been there months ago. Lily played her favorite playlist through the speakers, soft, mellow acoustic songs that made the house feel warm. After dinner, Lily brought out a photo album. I want to show Alondra where we started, she said. We flipped through page after page. Old pictures of us in the early days, before the kidnapping, before the chaos. Then sketches, newspaper clippings, even one photo of Amanda, taped in at the corner. Lily looked at it, quiet. Then she whispered, I don't hate her anymore. I nodded. That's how you know you've healed, I said. When you stop needing revenge to feel better. She closed the album and leaned her head on my shoulder. Do you think we're safe now? I took a breath. We're not just safe, I said. We're free. But as I looked out the window, I knew deep down, peace isn't a place. It's a decision. And every day, we choose it again. The final scene is this. Lily runs through a field of wildflowers behind the cabin, Alondra close behind. Their laughter mixes with the breeze, louder than any gunfire I'd ever heard. I stand by the old oak tree, hand on the wooden sign we built together, Callahan's safe house, where fire became light. The past still lives here, but only as a foundation. I open my journal, the one I started the day she was taken. I write one last line. They tried to silence me with fear, but all they did was remind me how loud love can be. Then I close the journal forever, because this isn't a story about revenge. It's about return, to self, to family, to purpose. And if you're watching this right now, maybe you're carrying something too. Something heavy. Something that was never fair, but still became yours. So here's my question to you. What's your fight? And what will you do when it's finally over? Let us know in the comments. I want to hear your story. We want to hear it. And if this story hit you deep, if it made you feel something real, don't just hit like. Don't just subscribe. Leave a line. Say something. Be the voice someone else might need to hear. Because maybe someone's watching this from a dark place right now. And maybe your words are what pull them out. This was "My daughter was kidnapped to silence me. I taught the kidnappers what war really means." And I'm Jack Callahan. Still standing. Still speaking. And now, I'm done running.